Hello and welcome to this new After Effects tutorial by flomotion.eu. Today I'm going to show you how you can easily create such a nice head replace effect, like in this example video here. Or in this one. Or this one. I also already created a small walkthrough tutorial of this effect, and I will post the link in the comments below, but as many of you asked for a tutorial, here it is. So let's get started. We start by creating a new composition, make it 1920 by 1080, call it our main comp, and make it 10 seconds long, and hit OK. And we can directly drag out our original footage here, which is the original commercial of Jean-Claude Van Damme doing his split in between two trucks. I just shift it over so that we end with this nice close-up and start around here. So next thing, let's bring out the green screen footage. Let's quickly watch it. It's just me in front of a green screen, and I tried to fake the look of Jean-Claude Van Damme, of course. And I tried to mimic the lighting situation that we have in the video of Jean-Claude. So if we watch it, we have the sunlight coming from the left, and we see that he is very even lit with slightly more light from this side because of the sun. And this is what I've done here, although I had to shoot it indoors. And then I just positioned one of the lights a little bit closer on this side to get the sunlight look. Okay, let's just drag it into our composition here. And now let's just find the position where we want this to end. Okay, but for now we can just hide it and continue with the tracking. For that, we just click on our original video file, go to animation and track in Mocha for After Effects. And that will automatically open up Mocha for After Effects. And the nice thing about this is that you have already installed it. So Mocha comes for free if you have After Effects. The setup of this project is fully automated, so the frame range is exactly the range we want to have in our composition, also frame rate, and so on. So we can click OK. So we want to track the head of Jean-Claude. So let's maybe track this one backwards so we can start with the frame where we see most of his head. So let's just go to the very end of the clip, go to our X-spline tool and select the parts that we want to track. For this example, I would want to track his head and also the top part of his shirt, because this stays pretty stable throughout the whole shot. Now we want to define how many pixels we want to use for our track, or how many percentage of the pixels. And I always increase the number because that makes the track more accurate, but it also takes more time to calculate it. So something around 80% should work fine for this track. And now we want to track this backwards. And for that, we can just go to the tracking icons here. So this is the normal playing buttons, and this part here is for the tracking. So let's track this backwards. So I just stopped it because I wanted to share a small tip with you, and this is that I always just bring out the grid and also the planar surface, and then I can just define an area, in this case maybe just around his head. And just for you to be aware, this has nothing to do with the accuracy of the track or how good or how bad the track will be in the end. This is just a visual reference for me to see how good the track is going to be while I'm tracking. So let's continue with tracking backwards. And there we have it. Let's just scrub through this once to look how good it worked, and it seems to work pretty good. So let's export this and bring it into After Effects. And for that, we can just go to the first frame, hit export tracking data in the bottom right part of the screen. And now we have to define what we want to do with it. We can either do corner pin data, or we can do transform data, and this is exactly what we want because we want to change the position, scale and rotation of our green screen footage. So we can copy that to the clipboard and go back to After Effects. In here, let's create a new null object, layer, new null object, and we also go to the first frame here and paste it. Edit, paste. And we bring out the keyframes by hitting U. So one thing that we have to keep in mind is that we just dragged the end of our clip here. So let's just drag this over until we come to the end here, and also extend our null object. Because what Mocha in combination with After Effects does is when you paste in keyframes, it starts with the first keyframe at the current position. So if you're in a situation like that, you could either go pre-comp your original file and track the whole animation. What we maybe could have done here, we could just crop that by edit split layer. And when we would track that now in Mocha, let's do that, track in Mocha. You can see that Mocha now already still has the whole clip in there, but it already set the markers to the in and out point of our layer, which comes in pretty handy. And what I normally do then is I quickly check my track, and I can see it on this null object here that it is sticking to his head and also scaling in the right way. Perfect. So let's just do this again backwards. So we go to the last frame and let's try to bring in the green screen footage to make it look like it is his head, and then apply the track. So we can enable the green screen again and make a quick and rough garbage mat around my head here, so that we just don't have to work with all of the image here. Then we go to our effects and presets and type in key light. Let's maybe just solo this. We select the green color that is close to my head. Then we can click Alt +4, which brings out the alpha matte. And then we can just go through our green tones here and basically find the best color for that key and hit OK. We still have a little bit of transparency here, so let's just bring out the screen matte controls and just work a little bit on those. And that seems pretty good to me. We can click Alt +4 again, or we can just go on this small icon here to show the different values, or in this case the alpha value, and we just go back to RGB. Now we can unsolo it again, and now just roughly try to position my head over his head. Maybe we adjust our alpha matte. Okay, now I hit T for opacity and just lower the opacity so that I can see both of the layers at the same time. Hit S for scale and just try to position my eyes over his eyes. Maybe rotate it a little bit by hitting R for rotation. Now I can go back with the transparency, maybe just feather the mask a little bit by hitting F while I have the layer selected, and then I can just feather it a little bit to blend it in. now I want to integrate it a little bit better in his shirt, and I could either roto out this shirt throughout the whole time, but I found a better way to do that. I just bring out the original, duplicate it by hitting Control D, bring it on top, and I'm maybe just quickly soloing this, and I'm just keying out the blue of his shirt. And there we have a nice matte of his shirt, and we could of course use that as an alpha matte for the green screen footage. So for the alpha matte for the green screen footage, we just choose the alpha matte original. And there we have it. I just unsolo this again, and just a quick screenshot for you to see the before and after, so you can see what this is doing. Now I can just position this a bit more so that I'm covering whole of his face. Maybe also scale this up a bit more. And I could also feather this edge a little bit here of my matte by just going into a screen matte and feathering or soften this a little bit. Okay, already looking pretty nice, but still it doesn't stick to the comp. So for that we just go back to our last frame and just link this to our null layer, which is holding all the keyframes at the moment. Just call this tracking data. And there we have it. Okay, we can see in this frame that my head is maybe a little bit too small, so we can just increase it and just play around with it until we have the feeling that it looks right. Okay, just like so, and we are almost finished with this one. Of course, you could also always go back into the track and do fine adjustments on the track, or retrack it, or just go into those keyframes here. For example, if you find that your scaling is just too strong, you can just click on the scaling, go to the curve editor here, and then you see that at the end we have 100% scaling. And if you think that it just scales too low at the beginning, you can just click on all of those and just flatten out the curve until you get the feeling that your scaling is looking better. Okay, now back to the normal view here for the graph editor. And now let's play a little bit with our color settings. For that, let's just bring out the levels. And now we just play a little bit with the black and white values until we are closer to our final result. Of course, you could also animate the colors and also the depth of field by simply applying a fast blur or a Gaussian blur to the face and then just making it stronger the further away we are to the camera. Another thing I would do here is to put on motion blur. So by clicking on the toggle switches mode, we can have the settings for our motion blur and bring it out for the green screen. And then of course also for the whole composition, which will just make it look way more realistic. And there we have it. We have our face tracked and sticking to the whole shot. Let's just quickly make a small RAM preview to see our result. And there we have it, our final result. For now, I hope you learned a little bit in this small tutorial, and I wish you a lot of fun in tracking your head onto other people's bodies.